For your assignment, there are 3 exercises. The first 2, I'm giving you quite a bit of code. So you are going to kind of have to create the methods, and then in the main method, you're going to be using those operator overloaded methods, and you can see where you have to call them or insert some code. Okay, and so this actually runs fine as it is right now. Now let me pull up my playground. Okay, so this is going to run. And so you can kind of see some of the headings. And what it does is there is an object array. We have one property in our calculator class called number, and we randomly retrieve 10 numbers. And then obviously this adding and subtracting code isn't working because you need to modify it. But you will be creating an overload for increment and decrement, which you will be then applying here. And then you're going to be adding a value to each of the numbers, subtracting a value, and then comparing the numbers to see if they are above or below a randomly retrieved number. So let's take a look. Up top is where you need to create your overloaded methods. And so I'm telling you exactly which ones to create. And then as you go through here, wherever you see code goes here, that is where you need to add code. So I have done quite a bit of this for you. I created the number object array. I filled it in with random numbers and displayed them. I've given a heading for new numbers. And what we're checking here is to see if the number, so we got a little loop, we're going through and we're checking each number to see if it's divisible by 2. Okay, so if there's no remainder, that means it is divisible by 2, and you need to add 1. Now, how do you add 1? You have to add 1 to the object, not the property. So it's numbers sub I plus plus. That is going to invoke your operator plus plus method. And then if it is not divisible by 2, then you're going to subtract 1. So we'll come down here. Okay. And that will adjust the numbers, which end up getting written out. Okay. And so that little task is done, and you've used the overloaded operator plus plus and minus minus, which are increment and decrement operators. And we move down here. And this is going to do addition. You see I've created a new object called number to add. And I have put a random number in there. And so what you have to do here is you're going to do a loop kind of similar to this. In fact, you probably can copy that. Okay. And so then you are going to do numbers sub I plus equal number to add. And then you're probably going to want to write it out. Okay, so whatever that number is, that will add to all of them. And you're going to do something similar for subtraction. Okay, and then you get down here for comparison. And so there is an object number to compare. And so you are going to need to compare each number in your little for loop here. Uh, to see if it is greater than or less than the number to compare. Let's see. You're going to need a nested if else here. And we have to compare the object, not the property. So you're going to say greater than number to compare. So if that's true, you're going to have some kind of a right line that you're going to display. And right now it's flagging this because I haven't done the method. And then you would say else if, and now you're going to do the opposite, right? You'll say numbers sub I less than number to compare. And then you'll have another else. And so if it's not greater than, it's not less than, it means it's equal to. So you'll do a console dot right here, and then you'll also do a console dot right here. Okay, so you guys will have to figure out what you want to say. Okay, but that's basically how it should look. Okay, so that's the first exercise. So I would do the methods first and then come down and do the main program. Okay, and so I've kind of shown you some output here, so you can kind of see, what to expect. And then we get into the second program. And so this is a log class. And so you can basically use it to log anything, reading, projects, work, whatever you might want. And let me copy this because there's a lot more code for this that I'm giving you. Trying to make your life easy. So anything that you see in red is going to be because we are missing the methods up top because you have to code those in. So you're going to overload operator plus and minus. So that's increment and decrement, addition and subtraction, less than or greater than. And basically you're looking at manipulating the hours. Okay, so we come through here and I basically am creating an array of 100 log events. Okay, and I create the objects here. There's a little menu that displays. Add an entry, print, change the category or the activity, adjust the hours, total categories, and compare them, or quit. Okay. And then you'll notice there's another little method here because if they want to change the category or the activity or adjust the hours, they actually have to give us an index number. So this is basically going through and making sure that they're giving us a valid number. And I can see I need to remove some of, actually, nope. The code is pretty much in the main method. The reason it's flagging here is because we are missing our methods, which is what you have to create. So let's look through this. You've got to create the methods. That's all you have to do in this one. Okay, it's going to display the menu. And then as long as it's not a 6, we're going to stay in this. We have a switch on their choice. If they chose a 1, that means add. So as long as our index is less than 100, we can add. And we're going to add the category. And there are 3 things they can add for that. Activity and the hours. Then if they choose a 2, we just print everything out. As long as, because remember there's 100 activities, we might not have all 100 filled in. So we're checking basically if activity, if that description is filled in, then we got something to print. So then it prints it out. And if they choose a 3, it means they want to change their activity or their category. So this is where we call that little method. We pass it the index number, which represents the number of entries they've added. After they add an entry, we increase that. Okay, so this is how many log entries we have. Okay, and it comes down here. And so what entry would you like to change? 1 through, and this is the total number of entries. Okay, we make sure that they're entering a number. Okay, and then we subtract 1 and we return it. Now I could have done another layer of validation to make sure the number was between, 1 and whatever the entry is. And if you want to add that in, awesome. Okay, but this program was getting quite lengthy. So I did not add that in. So we come back up here. Okay, and we'll have a number. And then basically it's just prompting them if they want to change the category or if they want to change the activity. Okay, and that's what case 3 does. Case 4 is where most of those methods that you're going to write is going to be tested. Because you again are going to have them pick which one they want to change. And then do they want to increase the hours by 1? Okay. And so if they do, actually, this should be what you're using. So you guys are going to have to modify this a bit. It should be just adding or subtracting from the object. Okay. Increase the hours by 1, decrease the hours by 1. Do you want to increase by more than 1? In which case, how many hours and adding that in. Do you want to decrease by more than 1? How many hours subtracting that. So this is calling operator minus. This is calling operator plus. We've got operator minus minus, operator plus plus in here. So most of the methods are getting called in this hours section. Right? And then we get to case 5, where we are creating 3 log objects. One that's going to total the fun, one that's going to total, let's see. So we have a fun category, one that's going to total the work category, and one that's going to total the other category. Okay, and then we loop through, and basically if the category is fun, we add the hours in. If the category is work, we add the hours in. If the category is other, we add the hours in. Okay, and then we get down here, and this is where we are using the comparison operators. And we're looking at totals. So we've got the one object compared to the second object, and the first object compared to the third. Okay, and then we take and do another one. I am not using the less than, I'm just using the greater than, which is fine. And then so basically we're figuring out, you know, what did they spend the most hours on? And then we're printing that out. Now, if you are wondering why I don't just do total fun plus equal my log, that is because the way that you are going to be overloading uh, operator plus is not going to work for that. Because if you look, we are basically asking them how many hours that they want to increase by. And so we are adding in an integer here. So this is kind of an important point when you do your operator plus and your operator minus. The second parameter is going to be an integer and not a class object. Okay, so it's going to be public static. We are returning a log object. And so it's still going to be left-hand side, but the right is just going to be a number. Okay, so that's kind of how you have to set it up, and you're going to have to do the same thing for operator minus. Okay, so keep that in mind when you create it. You should not have to change anything really in the main method here in this program. All you should have to do is create those overloaded methods, and assuming that they're done correctly, the program should run. And that brings me to your last exercise. You're going to create your own class, and it can be whatever you want. So, and if you're looking for ideas, you could do an inventory, some kind of list. It's kind of endless what you guys could choose. But you are going to need at least one numeric property. And you can't use a log, a calculator with one number as a property, a box, or a trip, okay? Because those examples have been used. But I mean, there is an infinite number of possibilities for you guys. You're going to create a unary overloaded operator method. And it can be, whatever one of these operators you want to overload. You have to use it in your program and display the results. You're going to create one comparison overload. Well, actually, you're going to have to do two because they come in pairs. So you'll create a comparison overloaded operator and use it in your program, display the results. Create a binary overloaded operator, okay, and use it in your program, display the results. Your main method should create at least two objects, and you should use the different overloaded operator methods and display the results in the main method. Okay, so that is what exercise 3 is. And, between the examples in the book and in the lecture demo, and the two exercises you guys have already completed at this point, okay, exercise 1 and 2, you should have a pretty good idea of how to put this together. But if you have problems or questions, please let me know because I am here to help you. Have a great week and have an awesome spring break. This is not due till after spring break.